All right, today we're putting on our detective hats. We're going to investigate one of the biggest mysteries in the entire human story. When did our ancient ancestors really, truly become, well, us? We're on the hunt for the very first modern minds. Let's get into it.
So the big question seems simple, right? But the answer? Whoa, it's incredibly complex. And when we say us, we're not just talking about what our ancestors look like. We're talking about that spark, the moment they developed what makes us human: creativity, planning for the future, and this amazing ability to think in symbols.
You know, the official term for this is behavioral modernity. And really, it's this whole suite of cognitive traits that sets us apart. Think of it like this. It's the software, not just the hardware, of being human. It's our capacity for art, for music, for imagining something that doesn't exist yet, for building a culture.
Okay, so how on earth do we find evidence of a mind? Well, archaeologists look for specific clues left behind in the dirt, kind of like fingerprints at a crime scene. And we're not talking about just any old tool. We're looking for things like intentional burials, which hint at a belief in something more, or jewelry, which tells us about personal identity. These are the sophisticated behaviors that tell us, hey, someone with a complex mind was here.
But, like any good detective story, our investigation hits a major snag right away. And that snag is time itself. Before we can figure out what happened when, we have to be absolutely sure we can trust our clocks.
So before we can even ask when, we have to ask how. How do we know how old something is when it's, tens of thousands of years old? Because as we're about to see, the science of telling ancient time is packed with pitfalls that can mislead even the sharpest detectives among us.
Let me give you a classic example. It's called the old wood problem. Okay, so imagine our ancestors make a campfire, right? And they use a piece of wood from the very center of a giant 500-year-old tree. Now, if we come along and radiocarbon date that charcoal, it's going to tell us the age of the tree, not the age of the fire. That date could be off by hundreds of years, totally scrambling our timeline.
So, to get around issues like that, archaeologists use a whole toolkit of different dating methods. The real key is to cross-check everything. It's like you use one method on the charcoal from the fire, but then you use a totally different one, like luminescence, on the sand the fire was buried in. By layering all that evidence, you build a much, much stronger case.
Okay, now that we've got a handle on the challenges of dating, let's get to the heart of the mystery. This big debate. Was the modern mind a sudden revolutionary spark, or was it more like a long, slow sunrise? For a long, long time, this debate has been dominated by two big ideas. On one side, you've got the sudden revolution model. This argues for a kind of big bang of creativity around 50,000 years ago, maybe from a single genetic tweak. But on the other side, you have the gradual dawn model, which says, no, these modern behaviors showed up piece by piece over a much longer time, driven by culture and learning. And this timeline here, it just lays it out perfectly. The top line shows humans looking like us for 100,000 years, before this sudden spark of modern behavior. The bottom line, though, shows this slow, cumulative process where these modern traits just kind of appear and become more common over many, many millennia.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Over the last couple of decades, evidence has been pouring in, mostly from Africa, that just blows that revolution idea out of the water. We're talking about sites like Blombos Cave in South Africa. We're finding evidence of pigment processing, abstract art, and jewelry that are tens of thousands of years older than that supposed 50,000-year-old spark. This is some powerful stuff for the gradual model.
So, just when it feels like the evidence is pointing us in one clear direction, our detective story takes a stunning turn. I'm talking about a twist that could change everything we thought we knew.
What if the reason the picture feels so incomplete is because the most important part of the crime scene is literally missing? What if the real heartland of human innovation has been wiped clean off the map? And here's the twist. For most of human history, the world map looked totally different from today. During the last ice age, sea levels were way, way lower. So low, in fact, that Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania were all connected in one giant landmass called Sahul. Look at this map. All of that purple area was totally dry, habitable land.
And we are not talking about a small patch of land here. We're talking over 2 million square kilometers. That's an area about a third the size of modern Australia, all of it now drowned by the sea.
And this just nails the problem, doesn't it? These rich coastal areas were probably hotspots for people and new ideas. But our entire understanding of what happened here is based on sites that were once way inland, maybe where fewer people lived. The main event, the real story, could have happened on a stage that is now completely underwater.
So, is that it? Case closed? Absolutely not. It just means our investigation is moving to a new frontier. The hunt for the first modern mines is going underwater.
So how in the world do you find a needle in an oceanic haystack? Well, archaeologists are using some incredible technology. First, they use data from sites on land to predict where people might have lived. Then, they use high-tech sonar to map those ancient submerged landscapes. And finally, they send divers down to investigate the most promising spots. It's happening right now off the coast of Australia.
This view just brings it all home. It shows that massive continental shelf that was once dry land. This whole area is the new search grid. Every one of those submerged river valleys or ancient shorelines could be hiding a perfectly preserved site that could rewrite our history books.
This quote from two of the leading researchers in this field, it just sums everything up perfectly. We simply can't ignore these huge, drowned landscapes anymore. Any theory about our past that doesn't account for this gigantic missing piece of the puzzle, well, it should probably be viewed with a healthy dose of skepticism.
And that leaves us with one last incredible thought. The first confirmed ancient Aboriginal sites have now been found on Australia's continental shelf. That's proof. The evidence is out there. It just makes you wonder, what other profound secrets about who we are and where we truly come from are just waiting to be discovered right beneath the waves?